All right, let's dive right now. We're tackling a topic that's been a constant force throughout history: power, the dynamics of influence, how it's acquired, how it's wielded. It gets kind of, well, uncomfortable sometimes.
It does, and today we're going deep, really deep. We're looking at a system of ideas, principles really, that are meant to lay bare the mechanics of power. Some people might call it controversial. And yes, some of it might make you squirm a bit.
Right. But that's Robert Greene for you, isn't it? The 48 Laws of Power, that's our main source material today. And for our listeners who are all about efficiencies, who want those key concepts crystallized, well, we're going to try to do just that. Whether you're trying to understand, well, boardroom battles or, just the sweep of history, or even just curious, this is a concentrated dose of those laws, no messing around.
Exactly. We're going straight to those core ideas. We'll bring in the historical examples Greene uses to illustrate them. No time to waste.
Let's start with that very first law. Law number 1, never outshine the master. Seems pretty straightforward, but I suspect there's nuance here.
Always nuance. The basic idea is to make sure those above you, those with the power, always feel secure, feel superior. Not necessarily in a showy way, but always there. You don't want to flaunt your talents to the point where they feel threatened.
Yeah, like the summary mentions flattery and deference. It's all about making them feel comfortable, confident. The last thing you want is to be seen as a rival.
A rival, exactly. That brings us to Nicolas Fouquet, finance minister under Louis XIV. Big mistake. Tried to impress the king through this ridiculously extravagant party. The whole thing backfired. Spectacularly.
Our source really emphasizes this. Louis XIV, instead of being flattered, he felt, well, outshone. He saw it as a challenge, not a tribute. Fouquet ends up imprisoned, stripped of his power. Pretty brutal lesson there.
Ouch, yeah. On to law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. And this is where it gets interesting. Learn how to use enemies.
Whoa. Hold on, this one feels almost counterintuitive. Are we saying ditch your friends and cozy up to your enemies?
Not quite, but the summary does point out that friends can betray. Envy, assumptions of loyalty, it gets messy. Enemies, though, if you handle them right, they can be surprisingly reliable.
So it's more about, like, strategic management. I mean, how do you even begin to use an enemy?
Purpose and incentive. Augustus, the Roman emperor, he was pretty good at this. Didn't just rely on allies. He pardoned former enemies, even brought some into his inner circle, like Marcus Agrippa, famous example.
So he's turning potential threats into assets. Smart.
Yeah, recognize their loyalty might be even stronger, because they had something to prove.
Okay. Law 3, conceal your intentions. This one feels like something straight out of a spy movie.
It's all about strategic secrecy. You don't want resistance. You don't want people working against you before you even start. Keep your plans close to the vest.
Right. The summary talks about misdirection, even feigning disinterest, keeping your answers vague. The less they know, the less they can mess with your plans.
I think Queen Elizabeth I, her marriage prospects, that was a constant source of, well, international intrigue. Everyone wanted to know who she'd choose.
But she kept them guessing. And she used that, didn't she, to secure alliances, play different countries off against each other. That's like her hidden intentions themselves became a power move.
Exactly. Masterful, really. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. The power of silence. Underrated.
It's true. Sometimes it's what you don't say that speaks volumes.
Right. The summary emphasizes that brevity. It projects control. Too many words, that's where you expose yourself. Speak when you need to. Let others fill the silence with their interpretations.
Makes sense. Like, if you're not always talking, people hang on your words more. And sometimes they even read things into your silence that might not even be there.
Louis XIV, again, our source mentions him here. His silence, it was intentional. It kept his court on edge. Intimidating, even.
I can see that. Law 5, so much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. That's a pretty strong statement.
It is. Reputation, it's the foundation of your power. You have to cultivate it, protect it, and deal with any threats swiftly.
It's not just avoiding scandal, is it? It's actively building a positive image. And then, like the summary says, you have to crush anything that threatens it.
Cleopatra. Think of her. She didn't just present herself as a queen. She cultivated an image. Captivating, almost divine.
And it worked. It influenced people like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. It helped her maintain her power, Egypt's power. Her reputation was a weapon.
Absolutely. Now, on to Law 6. Court attention at all costs. To have power, you have to be seen.
So obscurity is the enemy here.
You could say that. The source suggests bold action, even a bit of theatrics. Controversy isn't always a bad thing. The point is to stand out, stay in people's minds.
That brings P.T. Barnum to mind, the master of grabbing attention.
Exactly. He understood that any attention, even bad attention, is better than being ignored. Those outrageous stunts, they kept people talking about him and buying tickets to his shows.
Law 7, get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Sounds a bit, well, Machiavellian, doesn't it?
Delegation is key here, according to the summary. You assign the tasks, but you make sure you're the one getting the recognition. Boost your productivity and your image as a leader.
Sounds like Thomas Edison. He was brilliant at assembling teams of inventors, but he was the one who got the credit for the inventions.
Right, he understood how to position himself as the mastermind. Law 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. It's about creating a situation where you have the upper hand.
So you're saying make yourself indispensable, or at least appear that way. Create a need only you can fill.
Think Napoleon. Invading Russia in 1812, he didn't just charge in. He let the Russian army retreat, draw them deeper into their own territory, stretch their supply lines while his stayed relatively short.
So he's creating a situation where the Russians are forced to come to him on his terms. It's almost like, well, baiting them into a trap.
Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Actions speak louder than words, as they say.
Especially when it comes to power, right? It's about showing your power, not arguing about it.
Right. The summary here stresses letting results do the talking. Arguments. They just breed resentment, even if you win.
General Douglas MacArthur, our source uses him as an example. When he was criticized, he didn't get into debates, he just went out and won battles. That silenced the critics pretty effectively.
Indeed. Law 10, this one's a bit Blake. Infection, avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Greene is basically saying misery is contagious.
Yikes. So surround yourself with positive, successful people. Their good fortune will rub off on you, and you won't get dragged down by the negativity.
Something like that. The summary suggests that negative energy, bad luck, it can be infectious. Protect yourself. Associate with winners. Think Lorenzo de' Medici in Renaissance Italy.
Right. He was a patron of the arts, a political player. He surrounded himself with talented artists, thinkers, winners. That created an environment that fostered success, kept him away from those who might bring him down.
Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. Essential for holding on to power, according to Greene.
So you're saying become indispensable, make yourself so valuable that they can't function without you.
Exactly. Offer something unique, something irreplaceable. Think Otto von Bismarck. He was crucial to the unification of Germany.
Nobody could sideline him, right? The whole thing revolved around him. He made himself central to the process. Masterful.
Moving on to Law 12, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim.
So you're saying use kindness strategically. Almost like a weapon. That's a bit disturbing.
It's about lowering defenses. A well-timed act of sincerity can make someone more susceptible to your influence.
Our source uses Victor Lustig as an example, the guy who famously sold the Eiffel Tower twice.
Lustig was a master con artist. He created an air of legitimacy. He played the role of a conflicted but ultimately honest official. It made the whole scam believable.
Okay, on to Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. This is getting pretty cynical.
But it's true, isn't it? People are motivated by what benefits them, not by altruism.
So you're saying frame your requests in a way that highlights how helping you will benefit them as well.
Exactly. The source uses Benjamin Franklin as an example. He wanted to borrow a rare book. He didn't just ask. He appealed to the owner's vanity, made him feel important for owning such a valuable book.
And he got the book. Smart. Okay, Law 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. This feels like we're going full-on Machiavelli here.
It's about gaining information, uncovering secrets. You do that by building trust, even if it's a facade. Think of Cardinal Richelieu.
The power behind the throne during Louis XIII's reign.
Right. He had this whole network of informants, many of whom thought they were his friends, but he was using them to gather intelligence to control the court.
Law 15. Crush your enemy totally. No room for second chances, huh?
This one's brutal. Don't just defeat them. Destroy their ability to come back. Resources, will, reputation, the whole 9 yards. Think ancient Rome.
After they finally defeated Carthage, they didn't just leave it at that. They razed the city to the ground, even salted the earth. It's a chilling example. Total annihilation.
Moving on to Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. This seems counterintuitive.
You're saying less is more when it comes to visibility. Make yourself scarce and people will want you more.
It's about the principle of scarcity. The more available you are, the less you're valued. Withdraw strategically, create a sense of mystery, and people will respect and honor you even more when you do appear.
Like Greta Garbo. She retired at the peak of her career. It made her even more iconic.
Precisely. Law 17, this one's a little unsettling. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability.
So you're saying be unpredictable. Keep people guessing.
Exactly. Vary your actions. Don't be predictable. It keeps people off balance, fearful, and more easily manipulated. Think Stalin.
His purges, they were terrifying because they seemed so random. Nobody knew who would be next. It kept everyone in line through fear.
Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. Interesting. Seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
You'd think isolating yourself would make you safer, but you're saying it actually makes you more vulnerable.
It does. You lose access to information, potential allies, you become a target. It's better to stay connected, engaged. Think Louis XIV.
He didn't isolate himself. He moved his entire court to Versailles.
Kept all the nobles close, right under his eye, controlled them by keeping them close.
Law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. That seems like pretty basic advice, but I guess it's easy to forget in the heat of the moment.
It is. Misjudging someone's power, their temperament, it can be fatal. The source tells the story of a young noble who insulted the Duke of Milan.
Big mistake. The Duke was known for his, well, ruthless nature. The insult, it was a fatal error.
Law 20. Do not commit to anyone. Seems cold, but I guess in the game of power, neutrality can be a strength.
You're saying don't get tied down by alliances. Maintain your flexibility, your options.
Right. Think Queen Elizabeth I. She never fully committed to either Spain or France. She played them off against each other, kept England independent.
Law 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker seemed dumber than your mark. Ah, the old underestimate me at your peril tactic.
It can be very effective. Let them think they're smarter than you, they'll get careless.
Like Amarillo Slim, the poker player, he often pretended to be naive, folksy. It disarmed his opponents, made them overconfident.
And he cleaned up. Law 22. Use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into valor. This is a bit of a mind bender.
You're suggesting that sometimes surrendering can actually be a path to victory.
Surrender doesn't always mean defeat. It can be a strategic retreat. Buy yourself time, regroup, come back stronger. Mao Zedong in the Long March.
When the communists were facing defeat, they didn't fight to the death. They retreated, regrouped, and eventually won the war.
Law 23. Concentrate your forces. Don't spread yourself too thin. Focus on a single goal. Alexander the Great, he didn't try to conquer everything at once. He focused on key Persian cities.
Take out the key targets and the rest will fall into place. Law 24. Play the perfect courtier. This is all about mastering those social skills.
Flattery, subtlety, grace. Know how to navigate the power structures, especially in those hierarchical settings, like Castiglione in the Renaissance courts.
He knew how to please the powerful, how to maneuver without being confrontational. It gained him influence.
Law 25. Recreate yourself. Stay adaptable. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, your image. David Bowie, he was a master of this.
Ziggy Stardust, the thin white duke, he constantly evolved, kept his audience captivated. Reinvention, it's a powerful tool.
Law 26. Keep your hands clean. This one's a bit dark, isn't it?
You're saying delegate the dirty work. Keep your reputation spotless, even if you're the one pulling the strings.
Catherine de Medici. The St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, a brutal chapter in history. She's believed to have orchestrated it, but she maintained a distance. Let others take the fall.
Law 27. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. Give people something to believe in, even if it's a lie. It's a powerful but dangerous tactic.
The source uses Jim Jones and the People's Temple as an example. He promised utopia, created a sense of community, belonging. It ended in tragedy. But it shows how powerful that need to believe can be.
Law 28. Enter action with boldness. Hesitation is weakness. Act with confidence, even if you're bluffing.
Cortés burning his ships in Mexico, a bold move. It showed his commitment, inspired his men, and intimidated the Aztecs.
Law 29. Plan all the way to the end. Think several steps ahead. Anticipate the consequences. Have a plan for every scenario. Bismarck, he's the poster child for this.
He didn't just react to events. He orchestrated German unification over decades. Carefully planned, anticipated everything. A master strategist.
Law 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. Make it look easy, even if it's not.
Michelangelo, he only let people see his finished sculptures, never the hard work, the struggle. It added to his mystique.
Law 31. Control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. Limit their choices. Make sure all the options lead to a win for you.
Henry Kissinger, the Vietnam peace talks, he was a master of this. He structured the negotiations so that any choice the other side made benefited the United States.
Law 32. Play to people's fantasies. Promise them what they want, even if it's impossible.
Bernie Madoff, unfortunately. His Ponzi scheme, it was a fantasy. People wanted to believe they could get rich effortlessly, and it cost them everything.
Law 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew. Find their weakness, their vulnerability, and exploit it.
The CIA during the Cold War, they were masters of this, allegedly. Blackmail, bribery, whatever it took.
Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. Project confidence, authority, even if you don't feel it. Cleopatra, she did this even when her power was threatened.
Perception is reality. Law 35. Master the art of timing. Know when to act, when to wait.
Caius Maximus, delaying tactics against Hannibal. He waited for the right moment, the right circumstances. Patience won the day.
Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. Don't dwell on what you can't have. Let it go.
Voltaire, he couldn't get a noble title, so he mocked the nobility, made them seem irrelevant.
Law 37. Create compelling spectacles. Use grand gestures, imagery, symbols. All them into submission. Napoleon's coronation. It was a spectacle designed to legitimize his power.
Law 38. Think as you like, but behave like others. Don't rock the boat unnecessarily. Outward conformity, inward rebellion.
Galileo. He recanted his heliocentric views publicly, but continued his work in secret. Survival tactic.
Law 39. Stir up waters to catch fish, create chaos, and then exploit it.
Talleyrand. The French Revolution. He thrived in the chaos, used it to his advantage.
Law 40. Despise the free lunch. There's always a cost, a hidden obligation. Self-reliance is power.
Machiavelli warned about this. Accepting free help can lead to dependence, weakness.
Law 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. Forge your own path. Create your own legacy. Alexander the Great didn't just follow in his father's footsteps. He built his own empire.
Law 42. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Take out the leader, the group will fall apart.
Julius Caesar. His assassination led to chaos, infighting.
Law 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others. Win their loyalty, not just their obedience.
Martin Luther King Jr., he appealed to people's conscience, their sense of justice. He won hearts and minds.
Law 44. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. Reflect their behavior back at them.
Talleyrand, again, he's said to have done this with Napoleon, used his own tactics against him.
Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Gradualism, not revolution.
Augustus Caesar, he transformed Rome from a republic to an empire, but he did it gradually.
Law 46. Never appear too perfect. Show some flaws. It makes you more human, less threatening. JFK, he was a master of self-deprecating humor.
Law 47. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. Know when to quit while you're ahead. Genghis Khan, he stopped his conquests at a certain point, focused on consolidating his power.
And finally, Law 48. Assume formlessness. Be adaptable, fluid, unpredictable, like water.
Bruce Lee's philosophy, be like water, a fitting end to our exploration.
It is. We've gone through a lot. 48 laws, a whole system of thinking about power, drawn straight from our source material.
Yeah, some of it's tough to swallow, makes you think, but regardless of whether you agree with Greene, I think it's valuable to understand these ideas, to see how they've played out in history, how they might be operating around us right now.
I agree. And that's the point, isn't it? It's about awareness.
So, our listeners, I'll leave you with a question. Now that you've encountered these laws, how do they change the way you see things? Past events, current situations, even your own interactions. And, well, does knowing about these laws make you more or less likely to use them? That's something to ponder, I think.
It certainly is.
Thanks for joining on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, stay aware, stay sharp, and stay powerful. But, use your power wisely.